Welcome back to the Loco Experience podcast. My guest today, returning after a significant absence from the studio, is Aaron Everitt. Oh, it was last election.
It was last
with
election.
Your son.
Yeah, that's right. That's
with Emerson.
1 year ago.
Yes. Can you guess the symbolism or the metaphor in my choice of apparel today?
Well, I see blue, so my guess is
it's the blue wave.
The blue wave. Yes, I think.
Much different tone in the news headlines this morning than
yes.
it was a year ago, the day after the election.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No.
I mean, and I don't think it even had anything to do necessarily with, well, we can get into it further, but I don't think it actually had anything to do with, like sometimes in the midterms you could see where it's the president's sort of,
he screwed it up.
He screwed it up, and so the consequences of this. I don't think that's what this was.
Mm-mm.
This was, I think what's happening in America is really interesting, and Trump's part of it, which is this, I want to find the biggest lever I can find to move the machine, because the machine is not moving in the way I want it to. And so I'm going to try my best to kind of keep finding these levers that will do more and more radical things, because I need this thing to break, which I think is the sentiment from the people that are voting, those that are actually agitated by the system, those that are young, youthful. If you look at last night's...
Certainly the Mamdani.
Yeah, if you look at Mamdani's stuff, it was all driven by youth vote last night.
And immigrants.
And immigrants in a huge way. And I think, there is an impatience about the system. You look even a year ago, people have this kind of wild embracing of, hey, we got a coalition put together. Let's move this sucker. Let's get this thing done.
Doge gets rocking. There's stuff happening, and then Epstein list is coming out, and then
the system does what it does, which is just sort of,
And now we're in day 37 or 39 of a government shutdown,
and no one really. I mean, I know that there are people impacted by it, but it's always disproportionately impactful of the poor, of the middle class. It's not impacting Bill Ackman or whoever else at the top of the list. They're not impacted by this, and so it's really interesting.
I could be wrong, but I realized that the No Kings stuff is, yes, it's a bit of a division inciting creation, arguably, to try to bring about that big lever. But it's also a voter activation mechanism of historic proportion.
Yeah, I mean, that's a response to Turning Point for sure. That kind of their activation, some of the things that are out there. And the other thing that you have going on right now is an absolute crazy infight within the right.
Right.
You have a really, really dramatic...
Trump attacking Massey and Rand Paul and stuff like that. As longtime libertarians, we're like, but those are the only two
good
that
guys.
Don't suck. Kinda. What are you doing attacking the good guys, asshole?
And you have that, and I just think the other piece of it that I don't think nobody really wants to give this the credit that it deserves, but there's a real rub with foreign policy and the current this current iteration of what's going on in terms of people see our focus both in an inability to stop what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, and our inability really to move any lever in Israel and Gaza. And I think they are, but we know that we keep sending money.
We keep trying. We spend a lot of time and effort on it.
A lot of money. We spent a lot of time on it. Netanyahu's been to Washington, D.C. more than 4 times now. Right. Our people have been to Israel a ton of times. We've got a bunch of people back and forth with Ukraine. So I think that people are looking at it and going, wait a second, a year ago I had a lot of hopes that this was all going to just go, we were going to get this done. And I was willing to vote for this guy and his team because we were going to move the needle. Now, I think there are people that haven't moved the needle. I mean, I think there are people within the administration that have moved the needle, including some of Trump's policies, but they can't go fast enough for what is actually happening to the people on the ground. Things are really expensive. Houses continue to rise in pricing. You've got real troubles with inflation. Anybody under 40 is going, this system sucks. Yeah. And the people under 20 are looking at it and going, well, what's the point?
Right.
I've made this bargain. I said this the other day to someone. Our generation made a bargain. We listened to our parents, and we made the bargain that they had made, which was, well, if you just work hard and you do the right thing, the system takes care of itself, and we'll have to trade away a few things off of our backs in terms of our taxes and our economic prosperity for the rest of the world to live at peace, because peace is better than war.
Right.
So that was their exchange. And so we took that exchange. My children aren't taking that exchange. They don't believe that exchange exists for them, that trade exists for them, that if they give up some of their future for peace and prosperity, that it will exist, because they don't know anything else except war.
Right.
My children have grown up in war their entire lives. There's not a day they haven't been exposed to.
Worth $39 trillion in debt, at least 1/3 of which is because of war.
And every house is $500,000 in Fort Collins. They're going, well, so what am I trading for? There's not really peace and prosperity. And I'm not sure that my hard work and taxes and energy and all the things that I'm going to do, if I did give that to you, I'm sure it's worth it. And so I think that's like a lot of what happened with Mamdani too, is this, look, we got to try something else. I need a bigger lever, because what was happening sucks and I don't want to do this.
So what do you think shakes down in New York City? Like, is he really going to keep the rich people there to milk them harder to pay for all the things he wants to accomplish?
Well, I think if you look at
because isn't New York's got to be kind of broke already with all the spending and departures and stuff, or it's just such a big economy that it's not that broke? Or
I don't know. It's a big system. There's a lot. The finance world can survive tax rates of 50%. It really can, because
what do they care? They don't make any sausage.
It was all fake anyway, and they can, so the way they take their income anyway, it isn't ever going to be taxed at the rate that Mamdani's asking for. It's never going to go like that. So they'll just find another way to shuffle it off into some, dividend or something else. And those people will be not impacted. The people that will get crushed in this system will always be the same people. The middle class and the poor will be disproportionately impacted by those tax increases, because that's how it'll hit them the most. If you go get a job and your taxes are higher because you're getting a W-2 or whatever, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of this conversation. The people at the top of this system love it. They're very happy that it works the way that it does, because they know that it just eliminates their competition. Every time a guy like this gets elected, it just eliminates another round of competition for them. So
I come from a farm family, and talk about agricultural subsidies and whatever. And when you do the math, it pretty much shows that subsidy is to the people that own the land, which generally are the really wealthy already people. And some farmers, but most of them aren't as vibrant. The real, the people that own the land are people like Bill Gates.
Exactly.
He owns a lot of it, and by subsidizing agricultural crops and production, then he can charge more rent to the farmers that actually do the work. And I guess my question is how do you, aside from having a French Revolution kind of thing, how do you reverse that trend? Like, what are some of the actual policies that could actually make it through our current government oligarchy kind of system that would actually make it easier for those poor and middle class to not always get shoved in the mud puddle and pushed to the side, regardless of whether the Republicans or the Democrats are the ones that are, because they use different levers, right? Like, this lever beats up these people, this lever beats up these people.
I don't know that I have an answer to that, honestly, and I think that's what people are feeling.
Right.
I think they're looking at this and going, none of this is making sense. I can't make this move. I voted for the wrecking ball. So what happens? It didn't wreck anything. Now I'm going to vote for this guy and hope that it does this. Yes. Will it do it? I don't know. I don't know that anything's going to happen significantly within New York that will be that different than what it already is. Right. It's a big city. It kind of moves on its own. It's a $62 billion budget. That's the city's budget every year.
Oh, wow.
So it's a 10th largest economy. Just the city is the 10th largest economy in the world.
If it was a nation, it would be. Wow.
So, it's a big deal, but I don't know that I just don't know that any of it makes a difference. I think it's almost like you're on a train and you can walk in between the cars, but the trajectory and the destination is established. So you can kind of move back and forth and act like you're doing something, but the train is on its way to a destination.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I don't really know. We're on a 250th anniversary next year of our country. Most empires don't live past 250 years. So we're at that place where I
You think we're actually in the crunchy times?
I do.
Potentially,
I
like
think
the
it's
next
coming.
5 to 10 years could
If
be, or 20 years.
unless Congress can become effective, which I don't see that happening. You've got, I mean, you'll have majorities and things that are going to change with this new kind of gerrymandering stuff that's going on in California with that proposition that passed last night.
Filibuster is probably on its way out here soon.
Filibuster's on its way out.
Do you think so? I think it
probably
is.
So. I think so, which is a dangerous move, but it's a move that, without, that's the point we're at. Nobody knows what to do.
Right.
So you're just starting to take all of these
this whole government shutdown is an interesting case study in itself. It's
totally.
Like, well, we could just keep spending the same amount of money we've been doing, but we're using this lever as a tool to bring us back to the bargaining table.
And nobody really knows what any of it does. What change?
Right. Even if we put a new bill together, a compromise resolution to fix Obamacare, what would it do? Like, what would it actually be?
Well, I know one thing it will do is spend more money.
Right.
Like that's it. That's we know that to
increase the pace by which the train reaches its destination of we're all fucked.
Well, it's sad, but I do think I'm just not sure. I've been writing a lot about this lately, which is just, we are insisting that we live under the premises of rationalist documents, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all created in a society that lived within a rational framework, which was there were things that were self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident, which is first line, right?
Nothing is self-evident. Hardly.
What is self-evident? Nothing, right? So if
with our current media and like the challenge it is in taking in a perspective that isn't colored by somebody else's crayons.
So all the people that stand there and wave their constitutions and say, "Hey, you need to listen and behave to this." The people that are on the other side of that, or the opposite side of that, are going, "Why? What is there for me to do in this? There's nothing here. This is an irrational time, and you're asking me to sit down and obey a rationalist document." It just ends up being probably too much for anybody to really be able to pull back together. I think at the end of the point, I mean, one of the great lines I've heard lately, which is, all things come to a stop. But it makes a great difference if the stop is above the waterfall or below it.
Right.
But it always stops.
And at what speed you stop from.
And what speed you stop.
Like that, as a motorcyclist, we always say it's not speed that kills; it's the rapid transition in speed that kills.
Well, and I think our country's at that moment, which I just don't know. I don't know how you get away from where it's headed. If you had some state autonomy, if you really had states that could fight into these spaces, but unfortunately,
could we have a constitutional convention?
It's available, but I don't know if there's enough. I just don't know if there's enough people that really want that to happen. And because I think
both parties just want to club the other party with a stick if they get a chance to hold the stick.
I think so, but they all know that they've all agreed to the game's end,
right?
Which is, well, we'll just do this. Like, we'll put the theater on, we'll put the show on, we'll do the things, and sometimes we'll get a guy that gets really out here, and sometimes we'll get a guy that's really out here. But the machine is moving in the same direction. So, in Washington, most of those guys are not very bright. Most of the politicians are not very bright people.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm really serious. I've met most of them. I mean, not most of them, a lot of them.
A lot more than you knew before.
Yeah, and they're not bright.
Really? You had that was me when the first George Bush became president, right? Or was it the second one that was more
The second one was
more
evidently
not. And I was like, as a little kid at the time, I don't know what I was, 12 or 14 or something like that. Smarter than this dude. You can't even say nuclear,
Nuclear.
But I realized it broke my meritocracy points in some extent. I was like, it isn't really the smartest person in the country that becomes the president.
Not even,
or a senator is apparently is what you're talking about.
Yeah, none of them are very bright. I mean, some of them are.
Give me 3 or 4 or 5 that you've met that you think are pretty damn smart.
Well, I've met Thomas Massey. He's very smart.
Okay.
So I'll give you that. And I like him.
All
right?
Cheers.
I've met Rand Paul. Nice guy. Very smart. Very articulate. sharp.
Not as smart as his dad, but whatever.
Not as smart as his dad, but sharp. I mean, but still a sharp person.
Yeah.
I think Bissett from Tennessee is a kind of a bumpkin sounding guy, but he's actually pretty bright.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I've not met Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've not met those folks, but I have interacted, at least in the hearing room. Didn't interact with him, but at least got to see and observe Bernie Sanders. I got to observe Michael Bennet. I got to observe, a number of people, both Republican and Democrat, and none of them struck me as people who you'd want to have a long conversation with.
Who do you think is the dumbest that you've observed or interacted with?
That's
Sorry, you could make a pass on that question if you want to.
Well, there's, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. The people in the hearing. So when I went to the hearings for Kennedy.
Oh, for RFK.
Yeah, in February.
And so to set the stage a little bit, you've gotten your taste of politics from being kind of an early supporter and eventual almost inner circle of sorts with RFK. Yeah,
I never worked for the campaign, but I was really close with the campaign. I had the campaign manager's cell phone, and we talked often. And, a lot of people within his sphere of people, his media director, all of his video guys, I was in that world.
They were sharing some of your essays out there.
Yeah.
And whatever.
And we, when we went to the inauguration, we got to I was a part of their Maha Ball and all the rest of it. So got to be engaged with politics, I think, more than I thought I would ever be, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, pretty early adopter to that.
So you haven't concluded, wow, these people in Washington, D.C. are actually way more smarter than I thought.
No. No. And when I went to the hearing, it was just so disillusioning. I think what you see on TV or C-SPAN is you see Bernie Sanders doing his big bluster and his thing, and then there's a light on a camera. You can see it. There's a little red light and it's recording, and it's recording Bernie Sanders, and he's making his big scene and doing all of his stuff. And then the camera goes and turns red for RFK sitting at the desk, and Sanders just turns his chair around and doesn't listen to the answer. He's talking to his staffers. It's all theater.
Oh my gosh.
And that's
so
every
gross.
Congress person, right?
That's so gross.
Yeah, they're not listening. They're not actually engaging in what the hearing is. It's all there to get the clips they need in order to fundraise off of it or try to persuade somebody in the next election. So the system is dysfunctional at a level that I don't know that anybody really understands. We live in a very theatrical ethos in terms of how we see it.
It's almost like I think if either you and me or maybe it was in my blog, I talked about how the Hunger Games, at least the people in the Hunger Games kind of had a higher level of recognition of the kind of level of theater that they were living under.
Oh yeah, we don't know. There's an American mythology that we definitely buy into. The Thomas Jeffersons and the George Washingtons and Abraham Lincolns, all of it. It's all dead and gone, and that America is nowhere to be found. What we live in is a system that it's a management system is really what it has become. We have there's a managerial class. A lot of people might call this the deep state or the blob or whatever, but it's just a managerial class. They really think that in order to have 350 million people live peacefully, you have to manage it. You have to manage them. You have to control every widget, fit it in a spreadsheet, and if it falls outside of that, then that's it's like
less valuable.
It's less valuable. We need to push it together, right? It's sort of this. I've been saying it's like Terry from Soul, the movie, where he basically is angry that somebody's missing from his count, his register, because the one guy sort of has fallen out of thing. And so, this guy's just running around trying to figure out why his spreadsheet doesn't match, And by the end of it, the people that are the other guys are like, and here's your reward, Terry, for the one that you requested, And I think that's kind of what Washington is, just these managerial people that want something done. And it's the hardest part is I've been on a number of conversations with lots of people from public health, lots of people in politics, and when you talk to them, the average citizen really wants something done. They may have different solutions for what they think what should be done, but they all are sort of in the same trajectory.
Yeah.
Hey, something this
We need
isn't
to do
something's off.
Not
here.
doing something is not
Yeah, like
what we should
what
do.
we're doing isn't working, and we need to do something. Now, my answer might be bad. Your answer might be bad. We could debate that, but we both can agree that we should do something. I've been on a podcast called "Why Should I Trust You," which is this. It's a great, really interesting one with people that are doing their public health and Maha people, and they're kind of they're trying to synthesize this.
Oh, now I'm remembering.
Yeah,
I came across that the other day. I was like, when did I start listening to this, and how did it come onto my feed?
I think I sent it to you potentially.
Yes, now I remember.
Very interesting people, doctors who were on the front lines of COVID, and there were people, and so you have to sit down in this conversation, and they're not easy. I was on one with the guys that all resigned from the CDC.
Oh,
so it was like really interesting, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to say our points, they're trying to say their points. At the end of it, though, both parties were saying something's wrong. Something's wrong in this system. And so we probably need to do something. Now, we might have different solutions about it, but at least we can agree that we should try something. And that's what I think you're seeing in electoral politics as of last night's results. It was, okay, we tried this, it didn't work. Let's go all the way to the other side and get as radical as we can to the other side.
So is the Republican Party screwed in the midterms now, as the market exchange says this morning, or like are there things they can do from here?
Trump
do
won.
They need to fold on the government shutdown thing, or is that a whole
I don't think that's actually.
They're not gonna.
I don't think that's what is bothering people. The government shutdown doesn't bother people. I think
most of them barely notice.
They don't. They very few notice. I mean, it certainly impacts the poor.
SNAP programs and stuff.
Of course, and I don't want to diminish that for people because that's a real thing. But I do genuinely think that most people are going, okay, if you can't get yourself to play in the sandbox together, stay shut down until you can figure it out. Because we're not just going to do this to go do this again in 6 more months, which is always what happens. Here's more theater, here's more stuff. We got another continuing resolution, and
but
it's
this
the big
time
beautiful
with only
bill.
18% spending increase.
It's just stupid, and I think people are not necessarily frustrated by the outcome of that, which is this impasse of, well, we don't have good solutions. Premiums are going up like crazy in Obamacare.
Yeah.
What? Why? Why is that happening? No one can answer that question.
One thing that's been curious to me is, so Jill and I signed up for actually the same health exchange I think that you referred me to years ago, which is a co-op, right? We send checks to somebody in Florida or Tennessee or whatever every month. Our prices have hardly gone up in the 5 years we've been members.
Yeah, I mean...
It's like $600 a month or something for me and Jill.
Yeah, we started with 6 children.
Not even 5,
We have 4 children, 6 of us in our family. And we started on that program, and it's gone up since then. But I think we started at about 400, and I think we're at 675 or something like that.
The kids are all still
everybody.
on there too?
Yeah, everybody's still.
Oh, maybe ours is only 400 or 500.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy, and it really works.
Right.
We've used it for broken arms. We've used it for. I mean, I had a heart
over
issue. I had
$1,200, right?
all sorts of stuff, and we've used it for all of it, and it's always paid us back.
And I'm also motivated to keep my
self together.
I don't want to rely on that. But that's crazy that you and I and hundreds of thousands of other people can be part of a insurance approved or a IRS approved, whatever the fuck that means for your health insurance. Excuse my language, but for your health insurance, but that is approved and fits. That can really only be $700 a month for a family of 6 or $500 a month for a couple.
Yep.
Which sounds like here's a great deal comparatively, but and it's okay. Like their program isn't going broke.
No, and it works, and it's managed well, and they have we send 1 check a year to them as an administrative fee.
Right. Yep.
11 other times of the year we're writing a check to somebody else around the country, and it works just great, and it's worked great we've been on.
So why doesn't everybody just join something like that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what these are the problems that America faces that I don't think people have really wrestled with, which is like, wait a second. So your solution to the complications with insurance is to give the program to the insurance people to fix the insurance.
So that we can require insurance for
that's
everybody that doesn't need insurance and everybody that does.
That's like drinking bleach and hoping you don't die. It's really stupid.
What everybody needs is a little more insurance cost in their life.
Yeah. No, I mean, no one wants this. Like, nobody likes insurance. It doesn't function. Insurance at this point in our country is mostly a loan. they don't really want to pay. So you pay in all the time.
Right.
Then they raise your premiums in order to make sure that your insurance is. And if Brandon Avery's listening to this, he knows exactly how angry I get about all of this because it's just this,
They try
it's
not to pay your
perpetual.
claims
They don't
anyway.
want to pay your claim anyway.
And they're a lot more powerful than you are.
And you're kind of stuck. And then once they do pay it, they raise your rates anyway. And I didn't ask for a loan, but I guess that's what it is. I'm not sure what all the premiums I paid all the years before were for, but that's where Americans are. I think they're really frustrated by this, and they look at the people that they've sent to Washington, and they have really high hopes and good. And look, there are things getting done that are really good, but it'll never feel like enough.
The swamp monster will just continue to blob up, no matter how many.
And maybe they'll get some things done, but it's never going to get ratified by Congress. And if it doesn't get ratified by Congress, when we swing back the other way, it's all over anyway.
Yep.
And
all
they
these
know
executive actions on both sides, so that's part of the goal.
Yeah.
By the way, before I forget, before we get off the election coverage, I do have a gift that you may have seen earlier.
I didn't see all of it.
I bought 2 in this is not going to fit with the microphone on, but in Hollywood, I bought a couple of Make America Great Again visors.
Here we go.
From a black fellow on the Hollywood Walk of Fame area there. And Jill said the red one is basically like a target.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to wear that in public places because crazy fuckers might just
take you out.
Tune in on the red hat and take me out.
It's unfortunate. I wish that's all part of this whole cycle, Charlie Kirk stuff and the things that have happened with everything. We just are finding ourselves in a situation in which people don't feel listened to. And when they don't feel listened to, the results are not good.
Yeah.
You do end up in French revolutions.
Especially in young men.
Oh, yeah.
You have too many young men, unemployment tickets, and stuff to listen to.
One of the best books that I've read lately is called A Monster of Their Own Making.
Mm.
And it's by a friend of mine, Jack Buckby, who's a guy from the UK who found himself kind of on a frustrating side of a political issue in the UK. He was labeled the boy wonder of the right, of the far right. He, got pushed into this corner of being a white nationalist. He's not, but that's what kind of happened with media.
Right.
Ruined his life. And, he came out of it, and he was a part of the RFK campaign. And that's how I met him.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was just kind of this crazy thing that all happened because the government of the UK wouldn't listen to what their grievances were.
Saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm frustrated by grooming gangs. I was frustrated by my girl classmates being raped. I would like an answer to how we solve this problem.
Right.
And ultimately,
they're like, you're just a racist. You don't like Muslims.
Right. They just called him names.
He's like, well, because they keep raping my classmates.
So it was really,
I'm not really anti-Muslim. I'm just anti-rapey.
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting about the book is just Jack talks a lot about just how he's had to walk through all of these things that ruined his life by speaking up.
Yeah.
And so the consequences for speaking up are too great.
It really reminds me of that, what's that, suicidal empathy kind of topic from Gad Sad or whatever his name is. But reflections on the same topic, but from a more ground level perspective here. From
a young guy. He was 15, 16 years old when all this was going on.
Whoa.
And trying to help his high school classmates.
Right.
And that to me is, but his point and his kind of, I don't know, the thesis of the book is ultimately when governments don't listen to you, then all it does is push you to radicalization. Mm-hmm. And that's really where we're at.
Election
it's
was too.
It is. And I don't know that we're getting away from that.
Well, and the government didn't listen to the people that put the current administration in either. They didn't release the Epstein list. They didn't follow through with the Doge stuff, really.
No, they don't. They weren't interested in bombing Iran. They weren't interested in all of these things that are going, look, this just doesn't feel like what you said. You talked about America first. You talked about Make America Great Again. You talked about these things that we actually resonated with, dove into, and said, yes, I'd like to do something with that.
They did cut off illegal immigration just like that.
I mean,
they just stopped trying.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even really have to put any border agents to the border. They just had to be like, Trump's in power now, and all the Guatemalans were like, shit, turn around. We should have got there before.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that also we still see those impacts. I mean, we see it in...
Oh, yeah.
You see it in the price of housing.
Well, in the election of Mamdani.
Yes, you do.
Like, probably a good number of those voters were freshies.
Probably, yeah. Probably so. And I don't know, And again, like the things that were promised and talked about, having a voter ID for voting, like that you had to have a picture ID to vote, that you had to be an American citizen to vote, that you had to do these things. All of that is like not happening, and it won't happen through Congress.
Yeah, nothing will happen through Congress.
And he might be able to make an executive order, but you'll find some
Man,
judge.
are you talking me into getting rid of the filibuster now?
I don't think so. You'll find some judge somewhere that'll stop whatever executive order.
Yeah.
It's just this death by 1,000 paper cuts. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. How do you get off the ride? Yeah. I don't know.
Talk to me about. Oh, yeah. So that's yours. You can pass it along to if you're not scared to wear it in public. Maybe you're a visor guy. Maybe you're not.
I'll give it to my mom.
No, the creative stuff overall. So you're doing. You got a podcast with Buxby yet, right?
Yeah, Jack Buckby.
Jack on the Besides the Revolution.
Yep.
And then you've got other creative works that you're expanding or
I've
expanded.
I've been doing a lot on Substack. I like it a lot. I actually like the whole thing. It's a great place to go get long form content. I like it so much more than X. I can't even see straight, because at least you can read something, and if you don't, it's not just a 10 sentence thought. It's like somebody's actually gone out of their way to make a logical argument. You may not agree with the argument, but at least it's readable, and then people are trying their hardest to sort of find themselves a publication voice, and it's been really cool to sort of participate in that.
Didn't Barry Weiss go straight to Substack when she got let go?
Yeah,
and
she did.
That got her a nice fat contract
got her a
with
nice
ABC.
Contract with
and
ABC.
a big valuation multiplier on whatever the hell she was making on her previous engagement.
Well, that's good. I mean, and I think it's probably more the future of media is something like Substack. Whether it'll be Substack or something else, I don't know. But I think the future of it is a much more audience to writer or audience to creator, direct to consumer program. Yeah. Advertising has been the bane of existence for media, to be honest, from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
People don't want to pay for the content that it requires to be a citizen. So the solution has always been that the newspapers charged the business people to do the thing.
Yeah.
That just gets too convoluted.
Right.
It's made too many messes over.
You're not going to run this story, Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be the last ad I ever run in your paper.
That's right. And that's been there from the beginning of kind of media in the United States. So Substack's interesting to me because I think it allows people to say, well, look, if you like what I'm doing, you can pay me $5 a month and you'll get a lot of content. I'll write stuff all the time, and now it'll have to sort itself out because people are going to have to vet whether there are good sources or not.
There'll probably be networks developed over time and stuff.
I think
kind of.
Yeah, we're part of this. This group of Substackers are all together doing this kind of media publication kind of thing. It'll be good. I think in the long run, it'll be really good for media. We're in a really weird moment of it, but that's why I'm participating in it, because I think it's very valuable.
And what's your station there?
That's Besides the Revolution is where I write. So Jack and I do a podcast on there. It's great. Substack allows you to do.
So you own that space. Is that your podcast? But Jack's your guest. But you own.
Jack and I kind of started it together. He's a writer as well.
Trying not to get imprisoned by the social media authorities in the UK.
Exactly.
Or killed by the rape gang.
So he contributes. We both do a pod. We'll do something once every couple of weeks. We'll do a podcast over there. But then when I write, and I write a lot, I always publish it there. Or I've actually been doing a lot of guest posting for House Inhabit, which is kind of a larger Substack that's out there. She's really
so that is more like a network almost, where she's built a network of writers that create content under her flag of sorts.
Let's guest writers write underneath her stuff.
Okay.
And we had, when we were in California this last week, we actually ended up having dinner together as families.
Oh, cool.
Really nice people. And we just it was a great conversation. I think, she doesn't come by politics as her first choice. So politics to her is sort of like this interesting sidebar. It was like a side quest for what she normally was doing. She's normally doing like criminal trials.
Oh, interesting.
So she, followed the Johnny Depp trial and the Epstein trial and the
investigative reporter.
yeah,
turned,
and she's very good,
political analyst,
and
almost.
she's very good at that. But in the middle of that, she's like, I'm really fascinated by politics. It's a crazy story. I'm really fascinated by Kennedy. I'm fascinated by Trump. I'm fascinated by Biden at the time. And she really kind of threw it out to all of them and said, hey, would anybody be interested in me kind of coming to your events and writing about them and trying to do media stuff? I'd like to do that. Kennedy was the only one that let her in at first. Then Trump did. Harris and Biden both rejected her sort of, I don't know, but she's
inquiry. Yeah.
She's a very interesting person. She was part of the women's march, the Pussy Hat March kind of thing. So she's like she's a Californian suburban woman.
Yeah.
She meets all the demographic values of someone who would be a liberal.
Sure.
She would have said herself as a self-proclaimed liberal 10 years ago.
Right.
But as things have changed and things have moved, she's going, well, my team didn't do anything. We got angry, agitated, yelling, but nothing ever changes. We don't make any progress. Nothing really happens. The country's going down. Like, we're seeing immigration issues in California. We're seeing these things that are happening to us. You aren't solving any of these problems. So she started to be curious about all these other things. Kennedy was that sort of gateway, I guess, the gateway drug to Trump, I suppose.
Right. Like you, she fell into the Maha realm.
Very much so. And so,
but from a different angle, right?
From a very different.
You and I both kind of
Yeah.
conservative, libertarian kind of long-term perspective. Her from more of that progressive circle.
Yeah, and
liberalism.
in both
classic liberalism.
Classic liberalism, and both people looked at the system and said it is failing us. I think you and I would say that. I think she would say that. And you're trying to find some hero in the middle of it to fix it. And you can point to him, try to see if they can do it. And I don't know. I think we all kind of feel an exhaustion. I think that's one of the things in the creative stuff, writing about it. Both of us kind of lamented, like, there's an exhaustion around talking about politics because it doesn't feel like you're moving the needle.
Yeah.
Even though you get your team elected or you do whatever, it's like really frustrating.
That's kind of been one of my, as both of us have really come from the same space where we were like so sick of party politics that we were throwing our votes away on Gary Johnson and blah, 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 Ross Perot going way back or whatever. And, like, you get sick of nothing really changing. Like, even any excitement that was built around the MAGA movement thing and stuff, and you turn the corner and you're like, now here we are, basically kind of the same place we were a year ago.
Well, and I know it's happened within the MAGA movement. There's a division there of people that were like, they thought that Kennedy was going to come in and basically undo all of the vaccine stuff and all this,
right.
And he started with food, and it just infuriated, half
of the vaccine,
half of it. Right. So you get this debate, frustration around like, no, I really wanted my issue to move. And there weren't a lot of people out there that were like, yes, red number 5.
Right.
We did it.
Right.
That wasn't a thing.
But also RFK is like, like 123,000 kids won't die if we get yellow number 4 out of the food system. And you don't, so I think there's this like sense in politics that you've got to, the creative stuff's been fun because it was really cool to like, okay, well, we do have some people there that are doing some things. I mean, from my perspective, Kennedy's doing a good job. I think he's there doing what he can to sort of at least disrupt a system that isn't working. And if you listen to even the people in public health, there's again, that same podcast, I was listening to it this morning, and one of the guys is a doctor, and Craig, he's a great guy. He's totally opposed to RFK as a person, but he's like, but look, they're doing something. They're actually getting something done. Right.
We don't think that's the right thing to do, but they're actually getting something done. So that should be admired. We should take a look at that, and that's an honest person saying something, which is like, something's getting done. I don't want to talk about Tylenol and autism and all these things,
right.
but at least they're trying.
Do something.
They're doing something. The ball's moving down the court, and that will, I don't know. We'll see what happens in that, but I think that creative stuff was so fun over the last couple of years to kind of do it. I got to meet all sorts of people that I never thought I would meet. Got to be at an inauguration I never thought I'd be at. I mean, it was really fascinating.
Is that like, would you like to take more of your time into the creative and inquisitive elements, or would you rather relocalize a little bit? Or
I don't know.
because you spent years really as a freelance obscure newspaper article writer and stuff like that a little bit, or not obscure, but
No, I mean it was
marginal in
marginal
comparison to your current reach, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting. Like if people wanted to come and pay me to do
If
that,
you could
writing,
make money doing that,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
But I also, I see the other side of it too. With this gal that we went and had dinner with, I look at her life and I'm like, man, it's not necessarily greener. The grass isn't necessarily greener. She's got a lot of people attacking her. She's got a lot of people that are, rude and mean and awful and think she's a Mossad agent. I mean, it's like crazy stuff, right? That just happens within that happens within the world of politics. And sadly, the government's been so dishonest for so long that no one really trusts anything. And so everything can become a conspiracy overnight.
Yeah.
Israel could kill Charlie Kirk or whatever it is, right? Because
Do you think they did?
I don't think so. I think that one's probably the most, what's evident is what's probably happened. It's not, I was talking with Jessica again on this thing, this House Inhabit person, and she said, I went to Utah to look at this place because I'm doing investigative reporting. I want to go to the trial. I want to chase this down. And she said, Turning Point uses drones with 0.5 lenses so that it makes everything look huge. But when you're really there, she's like, it's a small venue and the shot wasn't that hard. And like, there's a number of things that like he can jump right off and on the roof. And so are there suspicions about
would
it?
Mossad know that?
Yeah. Probably. And
I don't know. I'm not here to plant Israel's.
But you could. I mean, you can. That's where I can see where people get to all of these places as quickly as they do because the government has been so dishonest, right? We still don't know what happened to John F. Kennedy. We still don't know really what happened.
Have you been watching Jesse Wellis at all?
You see the
Instagram.
Yeah.
Like he'll write a song about it and 2 days after it hits the headlines kind of thing. He's got a new one on Venezuela.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't come from Venezuela? Cocaine or fentanyl. But we sure blow up these boats with kinetic strikes. And
it's I don't know. It's fascinating to think about all the people and you just watch it. Boy, like you just watch. I'm not terribly interested in doing what everyone else does in order to make money on that deal, which is if you really look at some of the podcasters that are really out there doing things that are trying to make money, they just say bombastic things from their basement. And and
clickbaity stuff, whatever.
Yeah, it's very
that was what I asked that Mossad question for, is just to get the intrigue up. Or assassination.
Use that
attempt.
clip while we're I do think it would be fun to do more creative stuff. I did one thing that I actually was really proud of in the last little bit was I did interview a mom whose daughter had been kind of gone through a regression in her health from the age, 0 to 2. She's just a normal baby, normal toddler, and then gets sick, and then they end up prescribing a bunch of stuff for her, and she comes out with a brain injury. The doctors diagnosed it as autism, which is not right. Like it's not autism. It's a brain injury caused by something medical, a medical intervention. Yeah. And so I got to tell her story, and that one was really touching and really cool.
Isn't James Merkley? I saw a bunch of social media stuff. He's doing some kind of a mini documentary on a one-shot kind of thing or something too, but it's a different thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
You should check in with him on that.
Yeah, I should. No, it's really that's the stuff I'd like to spend time on. I just went out to Sacramento not too long ago to interview 4 ladies who had been injured by Botox.
Oh, interesting.
So like maybe their own choice, maybe their own.
They signed up for it.
They signed up for it,
but that still doesn't mean you want to.
Yeah, and they're going, well, we really didn't understand it. It's not really informed consent because of the way that it's presented to us.
Yeah.
And it's presented as safe and effective, and we all know that story. And so that one's going to be really interesting. I'm working on that one right now, and I'm really fascinated by those kinds of stories are more interesting to me than, whether or not anybody's moving the needle in Washington.
I wonder if there's a place to, because I know in your past life you've been like singer-songwriter creative space as well as like podcaster and writer and muse and whatnot. You could do like cool songs about medical tragedies?
I haven't thought of that.
Botox, like, it's not just your Botox. It might just make your lips fall off. I don't know.
I felt so sorry for these ladies. Like they were like paralyzed for years.
Oh, damn.
Like their legs are paralyzed.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
Because that's what it is, really, is a tranquilizer almost.
it's the
like
most-
a paralytic kind of thing, right? A nerve.
Botox is the most toxic substance on earth. Like botulism is like the most toxic substance on earth. So like, put it in your lips. So, like there's some things there that you're like, why did you do that?
How did this get to be a trend?
But also, there's millions of people doing it.
So, because we're doing a quick turn on here, that was how I drifted into the. You see how that transition
It was
there?
good. The music thing.
You have a show coming up,
I do.
a reunion show.
Yeah,
sorts.
this is like going to be really fun. So
We'll drop a link in the show notes.
my cousin and I are both the same age. Luke, I've talked about him a lot on the podcast. Luke and I we're the same age. We were born, 4 months apart or 5 months apart. So his birthday was in February, and he had his 50th birthday. Our 50th birthday was this year. So we went to his birthday party, and it was really fun. And we walked out, and my wife said, "Is that what you'd like to do for your birthday?" And I said, "Hell no. I don't want anything like that. I have no interest in this. Like, it's not what I'm after." And she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And so I just hemmed and hawed about it all the way up till my birthday, which was in July. And then we didn't really do anything. We went with some friends to Wyoming and watched a rodeo. And that was kind of like, this was good. It was a really nice time. Like, I loved being with my friends. They're my closest friends. It was all just excellent.
Yeah, but it's not
But it
really
wasn't
enough
like-
for a 50th birthday.
It wasn't.
Hoorah.
And Anna kept saying, "Well, do you want to do something else?"
Because you're at least half dead by now, most likely.
More than half dead at this
Yeah.
point. But I decided at the same time, I was reminded that one of the albums that I had worked on, which was a very favorite album of mine, was also, we released it 25 years ago in August.
That's cool.
And so I was kind of going back through that, and I was like, it'd be really fun to just play these again with a band and do it in front of people and try again and do that. And so I asked Anna if what would you think about that? She said, I think that's a really great idea. So we ended up renting the Rialto in Loveland for November 20th. So a couple weeks from now.
Yep.
And we're selling tickets like a regular show. We'll have t-shirts. It's got the whole thing,
Cool.
apparel.
What's the band name?
It's called Maskil, which was really maybe a poor choice of a band name.
I mean, I have no idea what it means.
In
or
the
anything.
Psalms, it's if you read the Psalms, sometimes it'll say
it's like a little
Maskil.
it's a little sonnet or a little rhyming, almost like a haiku, but different, right?
Yeah, and
of
so
a
it's
skill
like
of David.
It's a skill of David, and it really was. It meant contemplative, so it was like the contemplative thought or contemplative psalm.
Instead of some of his psalms are very declarative.
Right. So this was like, I'm wondering about who God is or what this is. So
Right.
it sort of fit if you're like really on the inside of baseball in terms of
Right.
the
If you've
Bible.
been studying divinity for a couple of years
Which
or
I
something
had
like
been
that.
at the time. So it was, it all made sense. But the problem with the name always ended up that we were in Battle of the Bands, but we were always in like heavy metal Battle of the Bands because they would read our name and they would think it was Maskil. And so then we were with like Son of Slam and Crutch and all these other
You should have been
bands.
competing against things like a Brother's Fountain and stuff
Totally,
like that.
but
the
I
hippie
wasn't. I
campfire
was in the hippie
shit.
campfire stuff, but it wasn't that. We were always like, and all the heavy metal guys would be like, "You guys are really good, but like, why are you here?" So
all that to say.
in order to avoid a battle of the bands, we went ahead and rented the Rialto out, and it'd be really fun to try to. We're about halfway sold out.
Yeah, cool.
So it would be awesome if we could get it filled. I'd love it, and it's all original music. So everything we're doing is originals. It's all stuff that I've written or Anna's written.
Is it a Saturday or Sunday night?
It's a Thursday night. Actually.
Thursday night.
Yeah. So
Okay,
let's try to get
When
people.
this comes out, you're going to have like 5 days left to get your tickets, but
yeah,
they'll sell
hopefully
until Wednesday afternoon. Probably.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully people can get them, and they'll
You can show up at the door.
You
if
probably
there's
can show
still
up at the
seats.
door.
You
They'll
could
probably
show up
be
at the door.
I don't know that we're going to sell out, but it's been really fun to
It's
talk.
cool,
And it'll be great. And I told Anna from the beginning, I was like, look, if there were 3 people there and it's just our kids,
Yeah.
it'd be really cool.
Well, and what's
So,
cool is like we listened to some of those songs a few weeks ago when you were kicking my ass at Mulkey in your first time ever playing Mulkey. And so they'll be familiar to me even.
Yeah. Well, it was cool. It'll be a great kind of reminiscing as we going back through the songs. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that I was this good of a guitar player back then. I guess I played all the time, but also just been really cool to remember all the stories and the times on the road and the different things we were doing.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Any chance of bringing out a next album on it or anything like that? Would you?
Well, I think we're gonna do it as a live thing. So we'll take
Okay.
the stuff off the board from the Rialto, and I've got a young guy that I work with often on stuff, and he's gonna do some video stuff, and then we'll mix down an album and see if there's anything there. So
Reunion tour. I like
yeah.
it. I'm going to call a short break. I know
Yep.
we've only got like 30 minutes left.
Yeah, that's great.
On before you got to go rehearse for Maskil.
Exactly. Break time.
Break time.
Hi, this is Clint Jasperson, Managing Partner at Purpose Driven Wealth. We believe financial clarity leads to a life of contentment and purpose. Our mission is to guide clients through the complexities of wealth management, retirement planning, and legacy using a values-driven, stewardship-based approach focused on provision, contentment, and enjoyment. With more than a century of expertise through Thrivent, we offer tailored strategies to help individuals and families achieve their goals and embrace generosity. Whether you're navigating a life or business transition or planning for the future, we're here to partner with you every step of the way. To learn more about Purpose-Driven Wealth, call 970-330-7411.
Would people intentionally build up like the federal employment level and that kind of thing just to be able to influence a town that influences other towns and stuff? Like, is that,
Well, I think
or does it get the money because it's a cool town already and stuff? Or
Well, I think what you find is, and this was happening in the tech sector too back in the day, Fort Collins is a great place to live. So what you're looking for is employees. And if you can offer employees a place to live as a part of their package,
right.
Well, we have an office here in the very town you love because you just went to school here.
Right.
That tends to at least bring down overall costs and pay, and that's what was happening in the tech sector. I think that's generally true in government, although that's changed in government too because everybody's on a standardized CPI index, and they don't operate like
They get a raise,
private.
right? Okay, so you were continuing,
but I think that has had an impact in terms of just demand in Fort Collins. You always have a base of demand.
Yeah,
where people are employed gainfully, they have kind of future
or a government job.
Yeah.
Those weren't two different things.
Oh, those are two different.
Sorry. To all your government workers out there, I apologize. That was a inappropriate joke. I know some of you actually are gainfully employed, at least 25%.
But I do think that's had a lot of impact on work from home, and so that you've had more and more people are like, well, I don't have to be accessible to the interstate of the airport. I can actually just do my job from wherever I want to live. That could be up the Poudre Canyon or whatever. So I think you're seeing a lot more West Side popularity, which is kind of cool, interesting to see. That's a different change in my life. The West Side was always kind of like
the ugly, the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, it was, and then the lower priced housing were always up against foothills. Weirdly,
yeah.
That's not the case now. So that's kind of interesting.
That's good.
Inventory is up in the lower segments. So if you're looking for townhouses, if you're looking for first-time home buying stuff, there's a lot more on the market.
Okay.
Which is good. I think that's a good thing to finally
Still
see
happen.
$500,000.
$500,000.
But your entry point is $500,000. Condos are less than that, but HOAs have gotten really crazy because of insurance. They've gotten really crazy because of a number of other things within HOA maintenance that have caused those to be really
cost
troublesome.
of occupancy remains similar.
Yeah,
anyway,
if you buy $350,000 condo, but you're paying $400 a month in HOA fees, that's not uncommon to see right now. So a lot of that's kind of troublesome in that lower end markets because HOA fees are counted as as part of your payment, and so you're not buying as nearly as much. And what's available in single family at that price is either needs a lot of fixing or is old and has a lot of issues in terms of whether that's piping or lead-based paint or bad foundations.
Last time you were here, we talked a little about water and especially home building over in like Severance and things like that. What's the scene and if you know on the whole Cascadia thing with Greeley and drama there? Have you been studying up on? Because I imagine it's a big deal for a bunch of people.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything in the water is so it's fluid. What a good joke. there's a lot going on with water too. So a couple things. The water price is down. So you're seeing water prices between 55 and 60,000
Oh,
because
wow.
the demand isn't there.
Sure.
So it's helpful for new construction, which is good. They're able to put their shares in at a much lower basis. We were at 85,000 this time last year. So that's come down pretty significantly.
Yeah.
And
30% price reduction is meaningful.
Yeah, it is.
On that part.
And so that's good. I think the demand on water remains reasonably high, but the interesting thing that's happening with water is that it's so connected to the political process in terms of like development, what's going on. Either with new infrastructure like Glade, the other Cascadia, all these other things that are going on, or you have governmental pressures that are so significant that like they don't want new development. Governments don't want new development.
Right.
So now you're
then
like,
they have to get a bunch of water to feed these people.
So then the water price comes down because you can't get it through the process. So there's no demand for the water because of this. You can't get your neighborhood done.
Yeah.
North Weld Water is finally off their moratorium. That was only it took them 3 years to get out of their moratorium. So that's been interesting to sort of see.
They've got more water back available in North Weld?
Their infrastructure's back to where they solved some of their issues with the dairy stuff that was going on, and they also have a plan for their infrastructure.
Okay.
Their infrastructure was pretty deficient, so delivery of water was becoming an issue.
Gotcha.
And North Weld is kind of I don't want to say that they were a poorly run district. That's not what it is. But they were they're a farmer district.
They were above their heads in terms of complexity.
And it was really big. It's a very, very big service area. And they had, to get water where it needs to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of drag in those pipes. And so getting the pressures, and at the same time, those pressures that were once good now have changed because fire departments have all said, well, we've got these bigger trucks and we've got more things. So you need to have higher fire flows. So you can't be in the basin that you used to be in. Now we got to get your infrastructure up. So a lot of, conflicting pressures on the system. I think
some of the new reservoir expansion really helps to aim to address that, moving that water over on the north side of the county. Kind of.
Yeah. And so all that is good. All that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. So you'll see some of those impacts in terms of plan investment fees and infrastructure fees that'll come on. You still, if you did a cash and lieu thing at North Weld, you'd be looking at, for an acreage, you'd be looking at a $130,000 tap with fees and water. Now, if you can bring your water, you can bring that number down, but they're still charging in the 80s for their cash and lieu price. So yeah, I think the pressures that are going to come here are going to just continue to do things that I don't know that it's great for a community. It's what it will be, because I think it's what's the inevitable outcome of sort of the managerial moment we're in.
Well, and I wanted to get into NISP a little bit and Glade.
Yeah.
Because Fort Collins and at least one, maybe two other communities pulled out of that.
Yes.
Which is a big part of their juice they need to get the squeeze available.
Yeah.
Or
NISP is going to struggle, man.
Risk?
I don't know.
The cost. I saw the cost went up so much from when it was like approved.
Yeah. The whole thing, and I've said it from the beginning of that, is I just don't know that it'll ever get done. I mean, everybody's moving forward as if it's going to get done, and it very well could.
Yeah.
But there's too much volatility, and it takes so long.
Yeah.
That the market, and the market to water is municipalities and
totally. That's the customer.
That's your customer. Right. And if Fort Collins goes, well, what am I? I'm participating in this so that we can have more growth and more water. I don't want more growth. I don't want more water.
Right.
I'm not going to do.
Why would I do it? Yeah.
I don't see the cost benefit, especially if it's up here and it was down here, and I could see some benefit of this. But
like they sold Connection like it was a thing to protect the citizens of Fort Collins to be Fort Collinsians. Well, make sure we have enough fucking water.
I know.
To do stuff. Like, they have this huge department to bring business here, but they've got no lots or resources or utility expansion ability to do it.
I always feel sorry for the guy that's out doing Montava, which is, it's like he's just been stuck in this no man's land for so long. And some of it's related to Fort Collins, some of it's related to Elko. It's just, he's just stuck. I mean, he just can't do anything. He's been working on it for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And he's brilliant.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, he told me maybe come January he'd have some good news to report on the
podcast
podcast here.
I hope he does. I mean, I hope he does. But I always think about, that's just a tough... It's doing development. I was just on the phone with my dad on our way in, and we were looking at a couple of things, and he just was like, I just don't know that there's anything to do. You either have to have such deep pockets or be leveraged so high with the banks.
Yeah, a quick turn.
There's just not enough juice in it, and I think all of that it's finally all sort of coming to its fruition with this idea that you've got, you just have all these complications. You've got water problems, you've got political problems, you've got inflation problems, you've got demand problems. All of this stuff is hitting at the same time, and it's making real estate challenging. I mean, great houses still sell. Great properties and great locations at the right price, still selling for
I could sell my house if I wanted to.
Absolutely. And you could sell it for way more than you paid for it.
Sure.
That's just a real number. That's a real thing because of where you are. And it's a great house. It's a great location. Those that are in the outliers, if you're in Severance or outlying of in Eaton, or if you're in, not such a great part of Fort Collins, or if you're, someplace in Loveland that isn't as desirable, you're going to struggle to sell it. Or if the house is dated, or if there's issues with it. And I still think we haven't recovered from people thinking that what the number is what Zillow tells it is. And it's not that. It's just, and it moves much faster than Zillow can react. Zillow's turning into more of an appraisal situation than it is like an appraiser's always behind the ball.
Right.
Zillow's a little bit like that. They're not advanced. They're not out advancing what's actually happening within the market. They can only respond to what's actually happening the day of. And if something's under contract, they don't know that data. It's okay. It's like get you close.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're all much higher than what the numbers in the real market are.
So we've got like 15 minutes left really of this show. And, I've had you on here like 5 times previous. So we've pulled out all of your crazy experiences out.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask you to get speculative a little bit.
Okay.
Like you were kind of dire, like probably the most dire I've heard you in terms of your outlook for the future and like what happens from here in some of our lead-in times. And it wasn't just because the blue wave came crashing.
No, it had nothing to do with
It's
that.
because even if the Blues win it, they can't fix it. The Reds can't fix it. It's just kind of a broken suck banger that screws poor people in middle class to the benefit of rich people, and that's the way the system is, and it's never going to change. Is kind of the summary of what I heard.
That's probably a fair summary.
So, like, speculating.
Yeah.
Like, what is that crazy thing? Or absent a convention of states where the Reds and Blues talk it through, like, how can we better get along together? That's been one of my theories, is if we just hold it more loosely, really minimize the national scope of operations and increase state taxes, drop national taxes and then do some testing, do some modeling, do some local funding of initiatives.
Yeah.
But I guess 2 questions. How does that boil down? And because you're a student, man, there isn't nobody that studied systems of political economy more than you that I know.
Yeah. I mean, I've got 4 20-year-olds that live in my house. Basically.
Yeah.
And they're 4 20-year-old men. 2 are in college, 2 are about to go to college.
What do you got? 2 18s and 19 and a 22 or whatever.
I got
18, 20s.
2 20-year-olds about to be
there's the
about to
twinsies.
21s, okay. and then I've got an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old right now. But within a moment,
plus they all grew up together, so they're basically all the same age in their minds, except for the older ones that think they're older.
And what I find really interesting is we're fine. Our family's fine. We will be fine. I never want to be in this.
Grandfather and your uncle and dad created generational wealth.
So I'm not. Level. So it's not a sour grapes conversation for us as a family. It's not what it is. But I feel like I have a deep responsibility to the people who can't live that way. Right. I just feel that I've always felt that you've known me for 30 years, 25 years.
It's part of our affinity to each other.
Yeah.
Even.
I just feel
this
like
poor dumbass banker that left his job and was serving on the board of the Matthews house.
I think it's imperative that people who have something do something for their community. So this isn't a conversation around like, oh, woe is us. That's not what this is. But I look at our country and I go, there's a whole landscape of 20-year-olds, and my kids all have their friends over, right? Their 20-year-old friends, or their 18-year-old friends, their 17-year-old friends. And I hear them talking, and I hear their sort of disparaging of the system. And there's a desperation in their voices.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do as a young male in America, which used to be this kind of like, well, you do whatever you want.
Right.
There's a big bright future.
Yeah, go buy a convertible and a 4-speed with
great big beautiful tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? All that stuff. But when I hear them talking about it, and there's empirical evidence because I'm watching it in a daily basis, like, yeah, hey, if my kids wanted to buy a house, they're going to be in their 30s when they buy a house if they do it the traditional way, right? If they go about this just in like go get a job, go do the things, get a W-2, get
10% of your
married,
income.
try your best and try to do this thing, you're going to be in your 30s. Which means that most people don't have children until they have a house.
Right.
So that means that like we're pushing demographics way out into the future.
Which means you automatically decrease the number of kids people are going to have.
That's exactly right. So because when you're young, you'll have 4 before you realize that they're too expensive.
Yes.
Right? But that's not like, if you're in your 30s, now you start to make economic decisions.
Right.
And you live your life as homo economicus, right? It's just like everything is based on economics.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then you get more and more frustrated about the situation because you can't ever catch it because all these things go in this direction. And you're like, well, like I'm still chasing my down payment, but now the houses have all gone faster because now we're on an exponential scale where a $500,000 house, a 10% increase on that is a lot of money.
Right.
Right, on 10% down payment.
I got to save an extra $4,000 to make a down payment.
That's a lot, and you may not catch that in time. So, and interest rates may change in that middle of that game, and now you're really messed up or whatever. So, those things impact those kids. And when I hear their voices of like, well, I don't know if I want to go to school, then I don't know if I want to, what job will I get? What am I going to go do? That is a discouragement to me. And I think that is something that has to be addressed in our country if we're going to survive. If we're going to do a convention of the states, or if we're going to get motivated, you're going to have to give these kids some hope that they can do it, that it's worth the fight, right? Because the trade that they've been told is there.
So do we have to fight against somebody? Like,
you have
enemy?
The enemy is the train that you're on.
The complacency.
The train that's moving in the same direction that you can't undo. We're gonna have to find a place to get the train to jump the tracks. It'd be messy, but I think you have to have that happen in order for somebody to say, like, we can't continue to move in the same direction. You can't have $40 trillion.
Is that like a bust of the Federal Reserve System, even?
Yeah,
virtually?
I think those
losing our reserve status as a nation.
I think you're going to have to see oil detached from the dollar. I think that's going to have to happen. I think, and I think you're starting to see those things happen.
Yeah.
You're definitely starting to see things with Russia and China and Brazil.
BRICS,
all that stuff is really happening, and they're not moving off of that. They may kind of
now we're too powerful for them to really confront directly.
But $40 trillion in debt,
right.
You lose your status as something that people trust.
Right.
What are you doing? What are you doing about this? Well, nothing. We're just spending more.
Right.
We shut our government down. Okay, well, great. So then,
but we got to pay back pay for everybody anyway. So we actually didn't save.
So we
any
didn't
money.
we didn't do any of that. and you're not really getting into the discipline of like, okay, you have to live a responsible, citizen-driven life. The kids.
So we need to turn our politicians into homo economicus.
Well, they need to understand it for sure.
Well, they will when the dollar loses reserve currency status and whatever else, I suppose.
And I think they have to. The politicians have to listen to the people, and then and I also don't know if I can blame the politicians because the thing's too damn big.
Yeah, it
just is such a big behemoth that it's really hard to move. So the only way to do it is to sort of have these really disruptive breaking moments, like the dollar collapses, or you have.
Do you think we would remain one nation if the dollar broke?
I don't.
How do you think that would shake down?
I don't know. I mean, it may be more regional, maybe more, like these different factions of things, and there may be real realignments that happen. It's either that dollar breaks apart, or you start to see a movement of secession, like true secession, right? So there's a good question about so now, what is the role of the federal government? And you have things like Oregon where all drugs are legalized to the point at which, fentanyl and everything.
They kind of turned away from that because that was a shit show.
But it's all been sort of like,
right.
But that's against the federal law.
Totally.
Right? So no matter what it is, even marijuana, Colorado
early
adopter
of that, right?
So if that's the case, what other laws are not applicable?
Right.
Like,
Well, and what's natural law? That was an interesting thing. Like,
Right.
did the federal government ever have a place regulating marijuana? I don't know.
I don't know.
Didn't seem like it
and
necessarily.
then if you take that to its logical end, right? It's like, well then, okay, so if this law doesn't need to be obeyed, what about taxes?
Right.
Or what about so why did we fight a civil war in which there was a conflict over what the law's irreconcilability was between the states?
Right. We wanted common defense and we wanted trade.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it.
So what out of that? So I think you're going to either have to see secession, something where someone like a California or someone like a Florida
Texas.
or a Texas says, we're
Just
out.
Yeah.
We're out. We can survive on our own.
I'll take my 6% of that debt, I guess, but I don't want it to get any worse before I leave. So bye.
The only nonviolent way to end it is if the states stop sending their money to Washington first. The Nixon stuff that happened in the 70s, where everyone had to send it to Washington and then everybody has to send it back.
Yep.
If the states decided, that would be if they would just say we're done. We're not sending our money to the federal government any longer.
Yep.
I think that's
and if that could be declared by both the progressive states and the conservative states, which it could.
It could.
Like California has threatened to do that kind of.
And Florida could do the same,
payer.
right?
Yep.
So if those two players said, we're not doing this.
Yep.
And I leave Texas out of it because it's just a mess. It's not Texas politics is really messy. But those two are like your beta testing of the most things.
Yep.
The most progressive is California. The most conservative,
which is
Florida.
crazy that Florida has become that over the last 20 years.
Especially living
Florida man, Miami. What? They're the conservatives now? What the hell?
But I think if you could do that, and they said we're done,
we're
not sending it,
and then Utah's like, we're in. North Dakota's like, we're in.
And suddenly you'd see this, like maybe an amalgamation of more than 38 states, which would get you to a convention.
Okay.
That's the only non-violent way out of it.
Okay.
If the petrodollar collapses, you're going to have really big troubles.
Of violence.
I think it ends up in violence.
Internal violence.
Internal violence. Yeah.
How do they decide? I guess whoever controls the military kind of wins, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, and I don't necessarily speculate about the end. I don't know what that is, but I do think you'll see people just will give up. And so when you give up, then you turn to like desperation, and when you are desperate, you do violent things.
Yeah.
So it'll be neighbor to neighbor. It'll be this
really
thing, I mean, it'll be
so
a very
don't think
strange.
It splits up regionally. It actually becomes civil war, like the
could be.
streets of Iraq. Whether you're a loyalist or
it could be
whatever.
It could be. So that's not.
You could have that big red target for during those days. Hopefully you don't need it.
I don't want that to happen. I want to say that. Like I don't want that to be the outcome. I don't think that's the right way. But when I hear 20-year-olds, and I spend time around them, and when I hear them, it's a very different than when I was 20.
No, the optimism is.
I was like, I didn't care.
And it took me 20 years to get as cynical as I got.
Yeah. These guys are cynical at 20, 18, 25. And they're going, it didn't work. It doesn't work. The system doesn't work for me.
Right.
And I'm not going to make the trade that you've asked me to make.
No matter which perspective you're on.
No.
Like, I don't think you can look at Congress from either perspective.
No.
Like, the Democrats think the Democratic Congress is retarded, only surpassed by the Republicans, and the Republicans think that the Republican Party is retarded.
You can't
only surpassed by the Democrats in Congress.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
It's a dysfunctional hall.
It's dysfunctional, and it's not working. And weirdly, it's dysfunctional to those of us in the populace. It's completely functioning as it's designed, and that's where the rub is.
It will create the outcomes that it's designed to do.
We're on a train.
It's gonna be crazy. Thanks for listening to the Loco Experience.
Yep.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Aaron. Godspeed.